Hello, namaste. It's Bharati here, your host on Spirit Balance, and today with a very special guest again. His name is Steve Fierro, and he lives right now in Singapore. And actually, he is a soul who woke up a lot into what is happening in the world and what is a soul, and has a lot of questions. And he's also starting a very interesting podcast because he is coming from a financial field. So he's coming actually from Wall Street into awakening. So welcome. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hey, that's cool. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you
So,
too. So
yeah.
please share with us some insights in your journey. I mean, many people think if you're working on Wall Street, then you are happy and you have the job of your life, and then you just be with the money and the matrix, and you in it happily ever after. I mean, many people think that's a life goal. So, what happened to you?
Well, I mean, that's probably a lot, what a lot of people think, but I don't think that's true. I think um, the town I grew up in on Long Island is very Wall Street centric. So it's only a 28-minute commute into New York City. So it's a quick train ride. So that makes it good. And on Long Island, there's nice towns and stuff. So, but the people I grew up with were incredibly good people with incredible values, hardworking, and great ethics and stuff like that. And we didn't have a lot of money, and we were in an upper class town. So my influences were Wall Street and lacrosse. Lacrosse is a game that is very popular on Long Island. And, uh, you know, I ended up on Wall Street. I went to school with a friend who ended up on Wall Street, and then we were talking, and the next thing I know, I'm down there. But I've always sort of been this guy that felt a bit like, a bit naive in the world. And I was always a hard worker, but I guess the whole thing with Wall Street was I jumped in it, not exactly knowing what I was getting into, and I liked it because it was a lot of fun in a man's world and stuff. But it always in the back of my mind, I had that idea: what's this all about? Who am I? How'd I get here? We're spinning on this round sphere in the middle of space. I mean, I've always had those questions. So I always really took things as a gift. I've always been quite gracious, but the ego can get in the way and forget to, make you forget how you know, the opportunities that I had, not everyone has, and stuff like that. So, in terms of Wall Street, it was basically something I got into because of a friend, not essentially I was looking for. And when I went with it, it afforded me a lifestyle that enabled me to buy books and go on seminars, and that kind of freedom is important aspect in waking up, right? Because
Right.
people who are really can't afford this or can't afford that, and these aren't really major expensive things, but I had the luxury, especially when I moved to Singapore, to to say I'm just going to buy 10 of those books or those CDs and stuff, and I had the time because I didn't have family and all that. I was away from my home. I didn't have birthdays and Mother's Day, and I had so much more time than the average person. I ended up just really getting into it.
Well, that's interesting. And I mean, I can relate to that feeling of, what is going on here and who I am really. And I also know, even being with people who questioning things, um, I can even feel weird in that. So, but being on
Yeah.
Wall Street, I mean, I think not many people there are questioning themselves, right? I mean,
No,
how that feels.
yeah, it's you're around a lot of ego, a lot of guys, but they if you play hard and you work hard, you're in the club, and the way they love you is they kind of break your chops. They kind of that's the way they tease and stuff like that. So it's a you have to have a thick skin to survive down on Wall Street. But in terms of me having these thoughts about the universe and stuff, I mean, I'm reading books. They don't know I'm reading. And what it did was it grounded me, and it enabled me to do my job in a way that I had a sense of appreciation for everyone around me. And I you know, I'm at times I'm sure I wasn't as gracious as I could be, but in general, I had a thing like we're a team, and you know, let's have fun here, you know. And I didn't really bring up all the crazy stuff, but they know I went on cleanses and in Thailand, and they know I was a bit out there, but it helped me get grounded at work. It helped me in not get too but it helped me keep the anxiety down, the stuff I was reading and learning and stuff like that.
So how did you deal with that ego? Because I mean, to have people around you who have that mindset, you're only worth if you work hard and play hard, and if you have all that money, and then you in that club of people and other people are less worth. I mean, that is something I have actually personally a problem with, if people are feeling like that. So, but because I feel we are all one, and this person has this gift and this person has this gift, right? So how did you deal with that? Because when you wake up, you also get a bigger feeling and your heart chakra opens up, right? So how did you manage that?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, you know, I wasn't as awakened. I was working in Manhattan down on Wall Street, literally on Wall Street. And so, you know, it was intense. But I play sports, so it's sort of like working in a locker room. It's sort of like being with the guys. And the way at that point I wasn't thinking, but as I was kind of waking up, the way I thought it was, look, we're here to have abundance. We're not here to be in scarcity, and I'm not going to make this wrong. And there's not a job on the world where people don't have, you know, fears, and people need to be helped. And it's like any team, no matter what you're doing, no matter if it's Wall Street or any other field, there's people around you that are maybe struggling. Maybe they have things that they're in severe anxiety and depression, and you can help them. So, you know, the tools I had really helped me sort of lead by example, and also know that I should cherish the people around me. And again, I'm not going to make capitalism wrong in this instant, because in this matrix, the best way out, or the best way to awakening, is really to have the money and the freedom to get awakened. Because the way it's designed is they have everyone on the treadmill, and they don't have time to look. You know, it's like, you have cancer, if you want to live, listen to me. Literally, but you know, oh, sorry, I don't have time, I'm just going to listen to the doctor. You know, it's like the whole system.
Yes, yes, Steve. I realized that too. I mean, that was I really feel like a long time I felt like, money is something I don't want to go into it. I lived even on donations for 9 years in India, and even couldn't afford hot water because I didn't care. And it was such freeing experience. But at a certain point, I felt like, oh no, I need some material things to do things. So I agree, and even able to change things, you know, to come out of that space of just like being in that, you need this, you need some way, you know, to get out of there. I just personally hope that the system sometimes changes, that it's available for everybody, right?
Well, I mean, I think from a soul level, we choose to come here, right? So we made the decision to come here and have our memories wiped. So we come here with amnesia, and it's a gift to be here, and everyone plays their role. And I literally wouldn't have woken up if I didn't have a little cushion and have the time and the stuff. If I was on the treadmill catching the train at 7:30 in the morning, making ends meet, I would still not have a clue. And I would be believing every single thing I heard on the news. And I would think this is reality. And, you know, so I personally think, I think you have to respect that we come here and abundance is ours, and there should be no guilt with it. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Abundance can just be knowledge. Abundance can be freedom from fear, and, you know, learning about the present moment and learning about higher aspects of yourself.
Yes.
And there's you know, my thing is like, I'm passionate about health and cancer, and because it's so elementary when you have the knowledge. It's like, you want to tell people, if you only knew, just like you don't understand. It's like, it's so simple. You've been taught that you need to listen to a guy in a white coat and to surrender your power. And these things are so frustrating also, because when you can see beyond the veil, every time my TV's been unplugged for years, right? So I do not watch TV. And I remember there was a time before I woke up, like, I gotta, I'm behind. I don't know what's going on. I gotta watch all the news and stuff. It was like, I gotta be tuned in so I could fit in more. It's interesting now. It's like I relish saying I don't watch TV. I didn't see it. I have no interest. It's like, I don't know. It's very calming for me to tell people, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't watch the news.
That's so cool. Actually, and I feel so much passion in you. I mean, that is so beautiful. And your passion is really to help people to wake up, right? I mean, you just mentioned also, especially with the cancer. So what was your awakening there? How you came to know that the system is a different thing, and what really helps is a different thing, and what is your vision of bringing that knowledge to the people?
Wow. Well, it's all tied together. Even before I knew about let's call it the matrix of domination and control that most people don't understand and even are aware of. Before that, because that was around 2012 when I started that. And before that, I was a very naive person. However, and I'm not saying I'm better than anyone now. I just say in my bubble of reality, I feel like whatever I have, it helps me lead a better life, a more calm life, a life with less fear. And I think the journey to awakening was, I always had this sense of like, religion doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I grew up Catholic. I used to set the clock ahead in church school. So, I'd stand up and put the clock ahead. I mean, I was always anti, like it just didn't make sense. All this stuff, it just really never resonated. And I always had a sense for healing. I don't know where it came from, and I guess, the desire to acquire knowledge. And I did some Tony Robbins stuff, and he sort of combines tapping into your inner power with, nutrition and health. And that sort of started me. I read a book, Fit for Life, a long time ago, which was just really basic about food combining and dairy and, like all these distinctions that are so obvious, but you don't have. So that sort of led to health and sort of knowing what's possible for yourself and your body and reversing things. And then when I woke up in 2012 from learning about things about, World Trade Center 7 is really the thing that started me. Every layer of onion I pulled off, I basically just I kept saying, this can't be true. Like, please, this can't be true. And the more I dug, the more I realized it was true. And I kept saying, well, it can't get any worse. And the more layers I pulled off, the worse it got. It just didn't get any better, because then it got into pedophilia and Satanism and stuff like that. And then there's a thread that ties through everything, because I say in this world, everything's inverted, right? The people calling the war on drugs, or the CIA is calling for a war on drugs to stop drugs, but they're the number one importer of drugs. The people calling the war on terror are the ones actually doing the terror. Fluorides help you fight cavities. No, it's to slowly poison you and make you sick just at the end of your productive years, and to calcify your pineal. I mean, maybe that's not true, but that's my belief. So, so the thread that you find is that everything, you can't watch a movie or even a child's cartoon without seeing symbolism and satanic things and things that are there to keep you looking externally from yourself, and to indoctrinate you with, when you get cancer, you take chemo, right? It's all in school you're taught to listen to authority, and this is how it is, and you don't think for yourself, right? You do what you're told, and your salvation lies outside you. That's sort of demonstrated in more than through religion, because everyone's looking at everyone else, and it's all a setup, right? No one, even the women on the magazine covers, they don't even look that good, right? It's all a setup. So we're all just human, and everyone is really just the same. But again, I always say we chose to come here, so the duality is an aspect that I actually embrace, and I think, right, because it enables growth. But I just think they've gone too far, right? I think there's going to be corruption in a dualistic world, but it's like, okay, you just taken it way too far. I mean, there's a way to have a lot of money and a lot of control, and let everyone else not be in as much fear. But so I guess you know, I can't even remember the question, but that thread of when I woke up towards the matrix was sort of like, it's all related. Health is involved, you know, even the legal system and big pharma. It's all controlled. It's insanity.
So are you also feeling that this right now, that we are at the point, you know, where it's so strong, and so the negativity is so strong, that we have now the possibility that something really big can shift? Are you feeling it?
Well, yeah, I think that's sort of always the case, because it's in our hands, right? The problem is that the reality is, you know, consciousness is being driven by us, and we don't realize it as a collective.
Right.
So, and I think the good thing is, if you vibrate at a higher level, you probably count 10 times versus, you know, the low level vibration. So I think a lot less of us are needed to counter the imbalance. And I'm hopeful for the future, because, you know, the age of Aquarius is coming, and they said that the age of Pisces, even though I don't follow astrologically, but the age of Pisces was supposed to be a very dark era in terms of vibration. And the age of Aquarius is supposed to be, you know, quite light and stuff. And that's supposed to start in January of 2021. But, you know, what's really happening is, if you take a rubber ball in a bowl of water, it'll float, right? So think of Earth as a rubber ball, and it's floating. What I call them the powers that shouldn't be, you know, the powers that, because they really shouldn't be in power, but basically it's sort of like through the indoctrination of celebrating war by calling soldiers heroes, and all this, and, you know, violence on movies, and you know, just watching fighting here and there on TV or wherever it is. And you can't watch a TV show without incredible violence. They're kind of holding Earth down in a low vibration in the water. But the only way they can keep the ball below water without it popping up, because it wants to pop up, is by keeping the narrative completely dark and low vibratory. Mm-hmm. So what's troubling is they'll do anything to keep that narrative dark and low vibratory, and they don't care. So that's what's a little bit, you always wonder, well, considering that they would do anything to keep the consciousness in a low vibratory state, that's what's a little disheartening. So, but if you look at this course and how many people are sort of speaking about the truth, it's indicative of where people's minds are. So yes, I am very hopeful.
Yes. I'm also hopeful, because I think once you reach certain consciousness state, you cannot go back. And I also think when we hear like, oh, what can I change? I'm just only one person. And so many people ask that. But you know, I'm sure you also experience that. If you awake, you know, even if you don't awake everybody around you fully, but you give some impulses, and people around you like, okay, starting to think, or, you know, even there's some resistance. Maybe they hear it from next time from another person, or even from somebody you don't know. I mean, and I feel that is very important. Personally, I feel that we always work on our vibrations, that we don't feel nothing can be changed. It's already changing. We have to also implement that as well. And I think that is what's happening in a collective. And
yeah,
personally, if this is like really going like warm, then, you know, you cannot press the consciousness back. It's not.
Well, yeah, I think I think literally focusing on yourself, not in a selfish way, is if you can shine your light, and if you are able to see people's pain, then literally your vibrations can change as simply as not being in your ego and not attacking a guy who's selling the newspaper who's giving you a hard time,
Right.
by neutralizing that situation, because you know he may be having a bad day. So that's coming from your heart. You're out of your ego in that moment, because the ego has to win, right? The ego has to prove the other guy wrong, and the ego has to make you miserable as well. So, it's as simple as putting a smile on someone's face, or giving someone hope that could be a stranger, in a very simple situation. It could be you're buying milk and someone's having a bad day, and you change that person's disposition because you're coming from a grounded place. So everything helps. And I think that basically things can only get better, and I think we're winning.
Yes, I think so too. I'm just very surprised. I think we will be surprised how how the way will be, and how long it takes. So I always say the light already won. So it just takes.
Yeah, I mean,
time.
I also know that basically we're going to be okay no matter which way we go, and it's part of the plan. But the things I hear is like, their reign's over. Like, they've overdone it, and this, that, and the other. But it makes you wonder when you see social crediting in China, and in Singapore, there's cameras everywhere. And I'm I have to probably watch what I say, but I'm very anti-mask. And, even if I go out, everyone's so compliant. They have this app that you're supposed to, check in everywhere and check out. And
in Singapore, everybody has this app.
Yeah, and I don't. But at any rate, and people are like, "Why don't you have the app?" And I'm like, So, but when you're walking around with a mask, I had my retina scanned as part of the government. They have your retina scanned. So, and there's cameras everywhere. So it's a situation where there's cameras everywhere. And if you're not wearing a mask and they catch you, they could catch you by your eye and stuff like that. And it's not that you would go. Yeah. So those things feel really oppressive. And I don't know if that's happening in the States, but look, that's how things are here. So I think the anger thing is not helpful. And I have to watch that, because I get super angry, especially with the whole cancer thing, because I've had so many friends die. I've literally pleaded with them, and it doesn't register. They're like, "You're not a doctor. Like what do you know about it?" So
they don't listen to you.
Well, no, I mean, I have helped some friends beat cancer and stuff. But once you're in the grip of a doctor, you're done. You're in the system. It's like you might as well have a rope around your neck being pulled. And, I always say, look, if you want to live, if you have cancer and you want to live, then you shouldn't be anywhere near a hospital.
Right.
That's the irony. That's how everything's inverted, right? Because we're in the same way that indoctrination has you looking externally for salvation and happiness and in physical things and cars and houses and that, they have you looking away from the earth. And it's so simple. It's really so elementary to reverse any disease. It would make your head spin if you knew how easy it was and how they suppress all this. So they have us looking away from the earth, right? They've destroyed all the indigenous ways that know all this information. That's all deliberate. And basically, it's illegal to even use the word cure. You're not allowed to say, I cure cancer, right? And anyone who's using holistic means is pushed out of the United States. You can't even have a clinic in the United States and not use chemo. It's illegal. It's against the law.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Well, the only way to have a clinic that uses like I said, like mega dose intravenous vitamin C, which is really all you would need anyway, but it's all the same thing. You need to alkalize and detox. It's all different words for saying the same thing. You could, I mean, there are clinics, but they can't say for cancer patients, we'll do this. They have to basically tie it to, if you want to feel better, then, you know, these are things we can do. They cannot say we're treating cancer with megadose intravenous vitamin C, with, you know, with detoxing, with wheatgrass. They can't say that. I mean, Harry Hoxsey is a man in the 1950s. He was guilty, found guilty of curing cancer with natural herbs, right? And he fought
What?
yes, he was curing melanomas with you say herbs, we
Yes.
say herbs in the United States, but and he fought the American Medical Association for 25 years, and he ended up bankrupt. And all his clinics were closed. Renee Case, all her clinics were closed. She was using indigenous Indian recipes. That's called Essiac. She had 50,000 patients who were healed sign a petition, and they just bankrupted her. They litigated her into bankruptcy. You know, Stanislaw Brzezinski is in Texas. He's an incredible man. He's reversing cancer with anti-neoplastins, which is alkalinity, right? It's basically providing electrons to an oxidative situation. It's basically all about antioxidants. It's disease can't live in an alkaline situation. So you could do it, I could do it, he does it, and guess what? They spent, the American government has spent, I think $800 million trying to put him out of business since 1970. And you're not allowed to see Dr. Brzezinski until you've had chemo and radiation. And then you have to get a recommendation from a doctor. So even if you have cancer and you want to go see Dr. Brzezinski, you can't. Unless you live in the state of Texas, I think then you can. But if you're outside the state, you have to use chemo, you have to use radiation. So all the clinics that heal holistically have been pushed outside the United States. So, and the word cure is a deceptive thing. That's another inversion. There's no cure for cancer because they've made it, they've deceived the public into thinking cancer is like a boogeyman that you catch. Like, oh, I got the big C. I got cancer. I'm the unlucky one. You know, I caught this thing. You know, I'm just unlucky. But people don't realize it couldn't be further from the truth, right? You don't cure cancer. The whole word cure is being used to take billions and billions of dollars of medical research into their hands. And they know there's thousands of cures. Yes. Right? The whole thing is a setup. I wouldn't give a dime to cancer research, not a dime, because it's a scam. There's good people looking for cures for cancer, but they don't have they've been kept out of the loop. So they're shaking down the people even in that way. If you donate to cancer, it's these organizations are just basically, going in circles looking for nothing, because you don't cure cancer. It's not some disease you get because you're unlucky. It's a disease that's brought on by a number of different things, and a disease in any case is an imbalance in your system that needs to be restored. So you don't cure disease, you reverse it.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes I feel like, can we just get an island and just live there in the forest and be done with the system? But we are in it, and actually it becomes very more obvious, how they try to suppress. I mean, I didn't know many of the things you said right now, because that is really amazing for me, because here in Germany we have still the natural way of healing, but it gets tougher every year. So they also try to cut down homeopathy and different things and herbs, and I cannot say I'm curing. I mean, I'm eating mostly raw food, raw vegan, since almost 20 years. And in the beginning of that journey, because I healed myself too, so I know what you're talking about. So I had a diagnosis with cancer, and that's why I went in that raw food thing. So, and in the beginning of my journey, I tried to help people to understand that. And I felt also it has to do a lot with yeah, taking action on yourself and taking responsibility on yourself. So I personally feel a little tired to tell people what to do. So I'm not working so much in that field anymore.
It's hard.
You know, because I absolutely understand what you're coming from. That is that frustration when you try to tell somebody and you really want to help, and as a thank you, you get blamed. So it's wow.
Yeah.
So, but
Well, they
this
don't
is
have,
how.
yeah,
Yeah, this is how deep the brainwash goes. So I'm just
that's it.
wondering, you know, how what it needs. You know, you know,
It,
sometimes it's hard for me to understand what
it,
people
you,
need to wake up from that big brainwash there.
you, well, they have their journeys too, right?
Right.
So, you know, who am I to trample on their journey if they want to take chemo?
Absolutely.
Maybe they incarnated just to go through chemo. I don't know. So, you know, chemo is a derivative of World War I mustard gas. Do you know what World War I mustard gas is? It's one of the most lethal biotoxins on the planet. And the reason the powers that shouldn't be love it so much is it kills you so slowly, right? So it's the most barbaric, slow killing substance on the planet. And this is what chemo is. So chemo is a toxin that adds to the acidity of the body that the cancer is feeding on, because cancer feeds on sugar and acidity, and all you need to reverse it is alkalinity. And if people even knew what chemo was, I mean, if you can't touch someone's urine that's on chemo because
Right.
it'll burn you, right? So, but these things are so elementary to people that have done it. They've woken up, you know, I mean, maybe that's not the word in this case, but they've unlearned, they've uneducated themselves and re-educated themselves with the truth. And you know, the power of belief is really, I always tell people, I say, look, I have information that can help you, but if you believe in chemo, then you probably have the best chance of that because it's your belief system.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, I wouldn't take chemo if there was a gun to my head. So I've told my friends, you know, one of my friends, I said, look, if, you know, I said, I called him, I said, you got to listen to me. I said, look, I wouldn't take chemo in a million years. And he almost was like, what? He's like, why wouldn't you take chemo? And so the way I deal with this is sometimes I say, look, I don't have the opportunity to be polite here. So if you want to live, listen to me. Because if you get in the hands of the doctors and you take the chemo, your chances of dying go up 95% in my eyes, roughly. That may sound like a bold statement. I don't say that to people, but that's what I'm thinking. And so the way I try and get them is I'll try and show them the distinctions I have with disease in the body, and this is what you have to do. But it sounds like crazy stuff, like you got to stop eating solid food if you want to, you know, it's like if you have cancer and you want to live, stop eating. Okay, we go juicing and cleansing. We got to clean your kitchen. You have to learn about things. You have to learn how your body works. And, you know, and don't be anywhere near a doctor other than for diagnosis, okay, and surgery. If you're having a tumor removed and that's your decision, awesome. But so with most people, what I've learned is I fail, because I think people are either open to it or they're so indoctrinated they can't hear it. It doesn't register, because the indoctrination is get cancer, take chemo. That's the brainwashing.
I know personally a very interesting soul. His name is Ralph Brosius. He had a lung cancer. I mean, very little. How you say in English? Lethal lung cancer.
Very advanced stage.
Yes, very
Yeah.
advanced stage. And actually, they said to him, so you have to get operated. After that, you have to get chemo and you have to get radiation. Otherwise, you will not survive, period. He said, okay, for him, it does make sense to remove the tumor And then he refused the chemo and he refused the radiation. They said he will only live for half a year. And he he said he throwed himself on the grass and he just ate the wild herbs. So he made smoothies with wild herbs. And he actually, I mean, this cancer, I think this is almost 14, 15 years away. You know, he's still alive. And he actually shares his story. He went on television in Germany. And there were other experts like doctors, and they are like, oh, no, you cannot say that you got healed. This is just, you know,
Exactly.
This was
Because
something just by accident you got healed, you know, there's a blessing. And
you didn't have cancer, you know, you didn't have cancer.
You didn't have cancer, right? And so now he even has to do his seminars together with a doctor because he got sued and he got problems, and so
he got sued for telling his story.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
But he's not giving up. He's a rough guy, and he has his book out. So it's a book. I don't know if it's in English there too, but it's in German. I have it in my online shop, and so he's still going out. He just takes precautions. You know, he has his doctor next to him, and he has his lawyers, and he tells the story. He's a story. So that's it. So, but I was very surprised seeing him on TV many years back, how calmly he handled that. He knew that he will be so attacked. He knew that. And he was just smiling at them. You know, I was like, wow, I couldn't.
Crazy. I mean, just think about that. Here's a guy who's reversed cancer. He's trying to tell the world and he's being vindicated.
Right.
Right. I mean, this is the kind of world we live in. Right. The doctor I had on the other day, Dr. Thomas E. Levy, he's been talking about megadose intravenous vitamin C for 25 years because the documentation goes back 80 years, right? It reverses polio, it reverses everything. So if you get cancer, the first thing they should put in your arm is vitamin C, not toxic biotoxin mustard gas chemo, but they're never going to do it because the vitamin C works. That's why they can't do it. And I even asked him, you know, I said, so if I just want to know with this megadose intravenous vitamin C, even though there's other modalities that do the same thing, if I wanted to get megadose vitamin C, could I, if I had cancer? And he said, not really, no. You know, that's the reality of where we stand because the science is there to stifle the truth. Oh, well, it hasn't been tested and we got to make sure you're safe, right? It's always inverted, right? Science is there to make sure you're safe. No, science is there to destroy the truth so that they can take advantage and not allow things that are going to help you. So, I mean, cancer is cancer and all disease is an imbalance of the body of massive toxicity and acidosis, because that's the only time disease and lack of immunity. The only thing you need to reverse cancer is your immune system, but you don't have an immune system when you're toxic and acidic. So it's really just reversing that condition because number one, disease cells cannot live in an alkaline blood and body solution. They die instantly. And when your blood and body are alkaline, you have 100% immunity. And all your macrophages, which are part of your immune system, they have, what do they have? They have more vitamin C than any cell in your body. Why? Because they're antioxidants, because they kill cancer on the spot. So in 1949, Dr. Frederick Klenner reversed 60 out of 60 polio patients during a polio epidemic. It was during the polio epidemic with megadose intravenous vitamin C, 1949. The documentation goes back even before that. There's not even a mention of vitamin C in a medical book, right? It's all suppressed, but the public doesn't know that. You have, once you're, you know, Bharati, once you're in the system, you are sucked into a venomous, disgusting, despicable, barbaric system that is really sending you from doctor to doctor, billing you for this. It is destroying your life. It has you in fear. It has you tired. It has you drained. It has you disoriented. It has you unable to love your family. It has you losing your job. It has you losing your hair. And then it has you dying, right? Where all you really would need is megadose intravenous vitamin C. And you wouldn't even have to lose your job and you wouldn't have to lose your family, right?
My father also died on lung cancer. And when he got his cancer, I mean, I tried to tell him, please take vitamins. I had not the backup that like you had, but I had some backup. And I had an aunt at the time living in America. So I went to astro projection seminar there as a Monroe Institute. And on the way back, I visited in New York. And I went to this beautiful shopping mall in New York where you can buy just vitamins. You know, it's just full of vitamins. We don't have that in Germany. So I went
Okay.
there and I went shopping for my father because I know otherwise he would not take it. You know, and I
Yeah.
went shopping and I had my half suitcase full of stuff, niacin and other things and vitamin C and everything. You know what happened? They opened my suitcase on the airplane. Not when you go, you know, out to Germany, you know, the Zoll. So they opened my suitcase and they said, no, you're not allowed to bring that to Germany. I had to throw away 50% of that vitamins because that levels of dosages would be too much. So in Germany, it's only allowed 150 milligrams of vitamin C, and the products from America had 1,000 and even 10,000 because I knew that, you know, I was crying there. I was standing, I was crying. I was starting screaming at one point. I said, don't you have another job here? Can you not just, you know, help us to get free of people who smuggle in drugs? I mean, I tried to help my father here. I tried to talk to him even. He said, oh, I have my things to do. I just doing my job, you know.
It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's a small example. You
Yes.
know, all the tests that science does today on vitamin C, they use very small doses, so they don't get the results. You need huge doses, right? So it's just it. The uh, I mean, doctors know that there are doctors that know, but they'd rather see their patients die. So, like with my mom, her rheumatologist, she had an autoimmune disease. It was called giant cell arteritis. It's really just incredible amounts of inflammation. Her blood is so toxic and her immunity is so low. And they put you on these, they had her on these steroids that were, she didn't even know who she was. And I flew in, but you know, and long story short, I did the cleansing and she was healed in like a month, literally. But I had to work with her doctor to get her off all the medication. And the doctor, I said, Doc, don't you want to know what I'm doing? Right? Because we had, the way I did it, I said, because my mother wanted to listen to the doctor, right? She's like, you don't know. Like, I have an Italian mom. She's like, I'm not listening to you, right? But I did get her to allow me to cook for her and clean her kitchen. And I fed her for 2-3 months. So, but long story short, um, uh, as what my mother didn't know is that I had a deal with the doctor. I said, I'm doing something and I respect what you do. But if her blood work starts coming down, then we're going to take her off the medication.
Super.
And he said, okay. So, because I pulled him out in the hall, right? And I talked to him. So every month or every 2 weeks I'd take my mom for a blood test. And he didn't know I'm cleansing her. And the blood work's coming straight down, like overnight, right? And by the time he was taking her off the medication entirely, I said, don't you want to know what I'm doing? He said, nope. He said, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Yeah, they don't want to know. They don't want to know.
But I have to say, not all the doctors are like that. I mean, I have to say, I have some friends who are doctors who work up a lot and who are working even with the system in a different way. I mean, I personally
Yeah.
have friends like that. So I just don't want to take all the hope of the people here. But I mean, for sure, there are some like yours. But it shocks me.
Yeah.
It shocks me because,
Well,
hey, what is that?
well, yeah, but I think, doctors know that they're going against the grain and they don't want any trouble, right? They
Oh.
don't, it's sort of like, I don't want to know, like, because it's not in my wheel box, my wheelhouse. So it's not something I can prescribe. It's not something I'm going to prescribe. So I don't want to know. My cousin had severe diabetes. He was on 12 medications. His heart was really weak. And I took him off all 12 medications within 2 weeks. We did it slowly, he stopped smoking and stuff like that. And his heart got stronger. And he told his doctor what he's doing. His doctor said, I don't want to know. So His doctor didn't care. So I'm just saying it's a frustrating world, but because people don't have to suffer, and the people who get cancer and don't know, they trust the white coat, and they are entering hell. They are literally entering they're entering a system that has no idea about healing, and it's going to make their condition worse. They're going to suffer much more than they have to. This is all in my eyes. This is in my humble opinion. But I saw my mother get dragged in. They had her going for biopsies. They had her going to this doctor, that doctor. My mother's 83. She's going to 5 different doctors. When the blood work just shows she has inflammation and she has disease. And you do the same thing you do in any situation. You cleanse and you restore balance and you restore immunity, and then the body's okay. Right. So it's difficult. But anyway, we could talk, we've been.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we do another one in some time, another podcast, because I really feel you have so much to share. But what really interests me, and maybe also the people who listen, is how you will implement your knowledge into the world. Because see, this pain you experienced is not just yours, right? And you're using it for transforming, and you using it as a fire to, you could go in depression and just hold it on in you, but you're transforming it into something you want to wake up people, you want to help. And I love that so much. So how you want to do that? So you have a plan, you want to write a book, or you want to get it into and make a plan there?
I want to do it one person at a time, really, because I realize it's not my job to wake people up, but I'll do it as best I can. And it's a difficult world we live in, where it's hard to put your sort of dogma maybe on somebody else. So you have to respect people, and it's hard because if my belief system is that just do this for 60 days and then you could take the chemo. That's my view, because you can take the chemo in 60 days. Just do what I'm doing. But when you get diagnosed with cancer, people don't even know what cancer is. And if they understood that, there wouldn't be as much fear. But as soon as you get the diagnosis, you go into I can only imagine, it's terrifying. And you're not going to trust a guy who's not a doctor. That's the way the system is built. So you're up against, a lot of, the odds are against you to make a lot of progress. But again, like the way the world's waking up towards the control in this world, I think, even holistic healing's sort of, people are realizing that there's a better way. So I am hopeful, but it's hard to, I guess, change people's minds.
Yeah, I'm also thinking we should never stop being hopeful, and I also feel you're already doing a lot of impact, and maybe you will create some other project, some project, because you have a very deep knowledge, and maybe you can find like Ralph Brosius, he just found a doctor and he found a lawyer, and they're doing something in this world and they don't give up. And I think sometimes this pain we go through can be our biggest blessing if we're using it. And it shows your big heart you have for the humanity and the people, because you could also say, okay, I know about that, I could do that for myself, but I don't care about you. But even so, people are upset with you and you're trying to wake up, you still have so much love in you, and I think that is what we need right now to transform. And
thank you.
So thank you too.
Yeah, well, I can't stand being deceived. So, that's part of it. When I know people can't see that they're being deceived, they're not aware that they're sort of oblivious to an agenda. And it's sort of like, it's just like this little veil. If you just knew, if you could just lift it, you'd see clearly, but it's so hard to get just that little veil up. And, and the thing that frustrates me the most is having to tiptoe around doctors and the establishment. And because what I want to say is, take this works, or this is what disease is. you need your immune system to reverse it. This is how you get your immune system back. Chemo will not give you your immune system. It will destroy your immune system. That's what it does. And it costs $400,000 to get your immune system back with another medication once they destroy it. So even a guy in Germany who you should check out, he has a website called Truly Heal. He is amazing. This website's amazing because they really speak the same language, but they still have to respect the doctor. You should always listen to your doctor first, which, why do we have to say that? No, you don't have to listen to your doctor. I mean, and, okay, there's so many great people in medicine who want to do good. That's not what it's not about saying people in medicine aren't good. It's just saying that the system's broken and the modalities of healing that it offers don't work. Because it's a sick care system. It's not a healing system. It treats symptoms and symptoms only. And you're never going to get rid of cancer or any disease unless you treat the cause. And it's as simple as that. But we still have to give respect to this institution that wants to see people suffer and die when they don't have to. And that's the part that I find really frustrating. Even this website, Truly Heal, he's a tremendous guy. I think he's a doctor, but everything he does is with utter respect to the medical industry. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a bit New York and hey, how you doing? I just sort of want to say in a rough way, there's a better way and you don't have to suffer, but it's hard. But I am hopeful. And I think even if you save one person's life, you've made a difference.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next time we'll talk more spirituality stuff and the universe.
Yeah, we will do that. I mean, we have no plan what we will talk about. We just move into that beautiful space and it's so great. Yeah. So how can people contact you, Steve, if they want to have a session with you and learning from you and say, oh my gosh, I have somebody or myself, I want to boost my immune system. I want to learn how to do that. Do you do sessions or?
Well, I'm willing. I have emails I can send and stuff. I can direct people to places. I can answer questions if they are curious. Like I can break down cancer in layman's terms, what it is and how to do that. So, I mean, if you email me at sfierro@hotmail.com, so S as in Steve, FIERRO @hotmail.com, and say I have a question, I'm happy from a layman's point of view on things I really believe work because they restore immunity. So I'm very happy to help. I've done that for a lot of people. I mean, I have 20 emails or 25 or 30 emails that I send out for all this information. I don't know if they get looked at, but I often blow up people's inbox with emails on how to save their lives with cancer.
That's amazing. And I really want to say, don't give up to look for good doctors. I personally have friends who are also doctors, and one friend, he just told me a few days ago, if they force us to do certain things, I will give up my my legal, I don't know how you say in English.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, doctors have saved my life. I mean, this is not about saying doctors, it's the system.
It's the system. Right.
And there's other ways and doctors don't even, doctors don't even know the things, right. Most doctors don't know these other modalities. And they don't want to know because they're going to get in trouble if they do know. And that's the problem.
Right. And at the same time, there are people who are awake and they are in the system still, even if they're super frustrated themselves and they try to change. And that is our responsibility, I feel, for our own self and our family to research these people. I have these people in my field. And so they are also out there. And if we need help, it's good to connect to them as well. And they are happy to be supported as well. So it's all about networking. So, I mean, I'm very thankful to have these people here in Germany. I don't know about other countries. I can imagine it's very different in America and in Singapore. And but
it's different in America. I think that's part of the problem is that even if you want megadose intravenous vitamin C, a doctor, even if a doctor wants to give it to you, he really can't because he can get in trouble. That's how
Really?
crazy it is. Yeah, of course. So, because even if he believes in it, there's higher ups at the hospitals who are going to find out what he's doing, and it's going to be stopped, right? So you're up against this monster. It's not the doctor, it's the system, and that's just how it is. So, like, I'm just saying, in America, it's difficult to get these really truly effective modalities of healing, and that don't destroy your life, and that you could literally feel better instantly. But I think outside of America, it's easier to do these things. It's still not that easy, but they're more it's possible.
Yes. Thank you, Steve, for
All right,
helping waking up everybody and raising the vibrations. And it's so nice to know you. And we stay in touch for sure. And last sentence
definitely.
you want to say for the people who listen?
Oh, I don't know. Just pardon my sort of abruptness the way I am. I'm from New York, so if I come across like I know and you don't, then that's not where I'm coming from at all. It's sort of when I'm passionate about getting something across, I just don't probably take into account how people are going to perceive it, because I'm such a believer and I've seen it work, so I know. And it's just like, you don't need to know, just listen to me, it's sort of like that.
Yes, no, I love it. It's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, cool.
Bye.
Thank you for your time. We'll see you again.
Thank you. We see you again.
Namaste.
Namaste.
You kill the call, okay? Bye-bye.